Michael Caine is always the one who can do understatement best. His strength is never in the bellow, but in the silence, the stillness of authority that can fill a room without the need for a raised voice. He has shouldered cinema with quiet strength for decades. From Alfie to The Italian Job, from Hannah and her sisters to the Dark Knight trilogy, it has been a masterclass in staying the course. Caine rendered himself indispensable not as the noisiest presence, but as the most trusted. But even the most forbearing artisan has his limits. On location, trust is paramount, rhythm, respect, cooperation. Shatter that trust, and the fractures never quite heal. For Michael Caine, a man who exists by discipline, there were coworkers who didn't merely challenge that trust, they shattered it. He worked with hundreds and respected many, but a few left wounds, incidents of pride, mayhem, or simple disrespect that Caine never forgot. Number 1. Sylvester Stallone. When Michael Caine agreed to do Victory in the early 1980s, he anticipated a war movie based on grunge and ensemble camaraderie. What he discovered instead was Sylvester Stallone, off the crest of the popularity of Rocky, intent on bending production to his own frequency. Caine subsequently alluded to Stallone's ego as being the true fight on set. The conflict was not explosive, it was insidious. Caine practiced balance. Stallone practiced domination. To Caine, that was poison to rhythm. The film, half war movie and half sports film, involved Allied prisoners of war organizing both a football game and an escape. Caine was to play the exhausted officer, the focal point of the scheme. But Stallone rewrote the movie around his own character, insisting that an American goalkeeper take its starring role. Members of the crew recalled Caine's silent frustration as scripts bowed to Stallone's demands. At times, Caine looked back, it was supposed to be about the team, but suddenly it was about one man. Professional, never lost his temper, never defied authority. He ran out of patience. Stallone's fixation on stunts and invincibility changed the film's dynamic. For Caine, performing was an exchange, the rhythm of listening as well as speaking. With Stallone, there wasn't space to share. Years afterward, when questioned about Victory, Caine praised the idea, the camaraderie, even the exhilaration of working alongside Pele. But when Stallone's name came up, his tone hardened. Caine once said, some actors think cinema belongs to them. It never does. For him, Victory was more than another movie. It was a lesson that ego can make collaboration turn into combat, and that some fights are better left unwon. Number 2. Laurence Olivier. Respect is one thing, reverence is another. Michael Caine frequently spoke in awe of Laurence Olivier's skill, but admitted to a sense of discomfort as well. Working with him on Sleuth early in the 1970s, Caine experienced the full force of Olivier's legend. Olivier treated the production as his stage, insisting on deference rather than cooperation. Caine, still a rising talent at the time, observed genius, but also ruthlessness. Later in life, he conceded Olivier might be inspiring as well as intolerable, a paradox that plagued their collaboration. Sleuth was constructed as a duel, a game of psychological cat and mouse between two men, one young, one old. The dynamic was reflective of life. Olivier was the knighted giant of British theater. Caine, the plucky upstart who had risen from blue-collar origins. The script provided them with equal status, but the set weighted greatly in favor of Olivier's supremacy. Cast members remembered Olivier demanding additional takes, not to get the scene perfect, but to prove dominance. Caine afterward said, Olivier didn't just play the game, he wanted to own the board. To the public, their sparks were electric, and Sleuth received Academy Award nominations. But behind the genius, tension existed. Olivier's insistence on dictating each pause and each gesture did not leave much space for Caine to catch his breath. Whereas Caine admired the artistry, he shunned the stifling hierarchy. For him, acting was a matter of listening, sharing energy. With Olivier, that energy too frequently traveled in one direction only. In subsequent interviews, Caine amended his tone, lest he should come across as cavalier about a national treasure. But the innuendos persisted. Laurence was a giant. he once declared, but giants cast long shadows. It was admiration tinged with reality, the acknowledgement that genius can create awe and also destroy people who get too close. Collaborating with Olivier was unforgettable, but unforgettable does not equal treasured. Number 3. Steven Seagal. By the 1990s, Caine had survived egos, but even he was shaken by Steven Seagal. During filming on Deadly Ground, Caine suffered what he later characterized as chaos. Seagal's lack of professionalism, his disrespect for other actors, and his poisonous need to control. Crew members spoke about Caine's frustration, his incredulity that discipline could disappear so utterly. To him, Seagal was more than just difficult. He was a reminder of how fame obliterates respect. The movie was supposed to be Seagal's big jump from martial arts hero to Hollywood director. Not only did he act, he directed, establishing a power differential that stranded co-stars such as Caine. Scripts were improvised on the spot, scenes were padded into self-indulgent vehicles, and schedules were bent around Seagal's moods. Caine, who believed in professionalism, felt trapped in a production where discipline melted away by the day. He once reflected, some actors act, others dictate, and when they dictate, the art dies. What stung most was Seagal's lack of respect for collaboration. On set, he was notorious for cutting off co-stars mid-scene, rewriting dialogue to favor himself, and refusing to rehearse. For Caine, whose craft relied on preparation, this disregard felt like sabotage. Although the action scenes thrilled viewers, Caine viewed them as hollow spectacle, devoid of rhythm and truth. In the end of filming, he seldom discussed the experience in so many words. When queried about on Deadly Ground, he evaded with tact, but acquaintances remembered his candor in private. He said once, it wasn't a film. It was a circus without a ringmaster. *B. That single line captured the chaos he carried from the set. For Michael Caine, the ordeal confirmed what he had long suspected. Discipline is not optional. It is the backbone of trust. And when that trust is broken, even the strongest actor can lose his rhythm. Number 4. Shelley Winters. Michael Caine rarely spoke harshly of actresses, but his memories of Shelley Winters revealed a crack in his usual diplomacy. When filming Alfie, Winters came on set with strength, her ability undeniable, her temperament impossible to miss. Caine would remember her temper, her condescending attitude toward younger actors, and her need to overbear scenes all the time. He admired her work, but abhorred her style. To Caine, teamwork meant more than loudness, and Winters tended to prioritize loudness first. Alfie was the movie that cemented Caine's status as a leading man, but its making was far from easy. Winters was a rich American girl who clashes with Alfie through a combination of charm and fury. The scenes needed subtlety, a fragile tact of charm and aggression. But Winters tended to upset rehearsals with tantrums, insisting that lines be rewritten or that she changed her performance suddenly. Caine confessed subsequently that she demanded that each scene revolve around her, even if the script dictated otherwise. Castmates on the set reported Winters as mercurial. She would be bright and giving one day, only to berate the crew or disregard co-stars the next. As a young actor, Caine was intimidated by her volatility. He respected her passion, but bristled at the uncertainty it bred. To him, trust on the set was inviolate, but with Winters, it was conditional, given a moment and taken away the next. In subsequent interviews, Caine treaded carefully between respect and honesty. He was lavish in his praise of Winters' natural talent, but also discreetly acknowledged the price paid for working with her. With one moment of candor, he said, talent without control is like fire without a hearth. It burns everything near it. It was a compliment and a warning, a testament to what he had gone through. For Michael Caine, Shelley Winters was Hollywood's own paradox. Genius flanked by disarray, talent honed into an instrument of harm. And although their collaboration created iconic film, the memory they left behind was not one of friendship, but of prudence. Number 5. Marlon Brando. Working with Marlon Brando was, for Michael Caine, a nightmare and a dream. Brando was a magnet, but his lack of discipline enraged Caine. He once said Brando could stroll onto set and recreate a scene on a whim. To some, that was genius. To Caine, it was sabotage. He thought Brando's genius was bought at everybody else's expense, and he wasn't paying that price. The two actors first met when Brando's name was already etched in film history. For Caine, to share a set with such a legendary actor was something to be proud of. But Brando's working style soon converted admiration into frustration. He was infamous for his tardiness, disregarding scripts, and improvising whole sections of dialogue. Caine would recall later, he was like a hurricane, astonishing to watch, but impossible to work alongside. Their battles were more a matter of principle than volume. Caine prized order. He thought that a scene survived or perished on preparation, timing, and respect. Brando, however, lived on spontaneity. What electrified audiences baffled Caine, who struggled to make sense in scenes that altered with each take. Caine never withheld admiration from Brando, though. In interviews, he would frequently temper criticism with awe. He once confessed, Brando could give you the greatest moment you'd ever see, but he'd sacrifice 5 others to get there. For Caine, that imbalance had betrayed the trust of ensemble work. It was not brilliance, it was responsibility. Ultimately, he departed with conflicting memories, amazement at Brando's raw talent, and dismay at his disregard for craft. The partnership turned out to be both a blessing and a curse, an indication that genius without discipline might dazzle, but it seldom withstands in tandem. Number 6. Val Kilmer. By the mid-1990s, in the sprawling production of Batman Forever, Michael Caine was not on the cast, but he observed the industry spin with tales of Val Kilmer's behavior. Years later, sources said that when their lives intersected, Caine found Kilmer cold, distant, and unreachable. To Caine, professionalism was sacred. Kilmer's aloofness, his failure to respect ensemble trust, became a symbol of everything Caine loathed about Hollywood excess. Kilmer's reputation preceded him. Directors talked about his mood changes, crew about his volatility, and co-stars about his aloofness. For Caine, who'd spent his career succeeding on casts based on friendship, Kilmer was the antithesis. He later thought, some actors build bridges, others build walls. Val built walls. Accounts from Batman Forever described a set run by frustration. Kilmer was criticized for resisting direction from Joel Schumacher, coming into conflict with coworkers, and becoming mute when collaboration was necessary. For Caine, for whom discipline was the life of art, this wasn't quirky, it was betrayal. When they met offstage, there was distance. In interviews, Caine characterized Kilmer as cold, a man unwilling to meet eyes. Indifference hit Caine more severely than hostility, since it robbed him of the fundamental trust needed to do a scene together. He once remarked, you can forgive temper, you can forgive ego, but you cannot forgive absence. In Caine's opinion, Kilmer represented the pitfalls of unbridled starhood. Ability was present, nobody argued with that, but the inability to get in step with the rest of us corrupted the work. To Caine, it was unthinkable. And thus Val Kilmer came to be, in Caine's recollection, more than a troublesome coworker. He was also a reminder of all the things he never wanted to be. Michael Caine's tale is not one of grudges. It is one of discipline. Every conflict, every confrontation with Stallone's ego, with Olivier's overbearingness, with Seagal's anarchy, with Winters's moodiness, with Brando's disdain, or with Kilmer's remoteness, was more than personal. It was philosophical. For Caine, acting was not a battle of the loudest. It was a trade, a trust, a rhythm between actors who knew that silence is as potent as words. When that rhythm was disrupted, the injury took longer than the applause to heal. Caine defended his art by recalling who betrayed the trust, and in the process, he said something greater than his own tale. The vulnerability of art and the price of ego in a world constructed on cooperation. His legacy lives on not just in the performances he gave, but in the craftsmanship he upheld. What do you make of Caine's conflicts? Leave your comments below and subscribe for more behind the frame histories of cinema.